Outside of Kirby Smart, who might be the best recruiter in college football right now, I want to know who is the best recruiter from an assistant coach standpoint at the University of Georgia. That's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. And as you know, it's a staff full of ace recruiters. And I thought this would be a good time to talk about this because Georgia has another massive recruiting weekend coming up, that first weekend in June and throughout the month of June. It's going to be crazy. This is where Georgia can really make their mark and end up with the #1 class in the country. If they do, it's because June was a crazy good month on the recruiting trail, and that's exactly what I expect from this staff because they can all recruit. So let's just jump right into it right now. The two guys stand out to me the most. Glenn Schumann is unbelievable. This guy is going to be a head coach either in college football or a defensive coordinator in the NFL sooner than later. So Georgia fans, enjoy this guy while he's in town because the guy is unbelievable. He does not miss. Quick story. I had an SEC coach tell me the other day, don't want to say the school, but I'm sure you could probably guess. He told me that Raylan Wilson, who is an incoming freshman, had a very good spring game. He said during bowl preparation, he gave Georgia's offense more trouble than any linebacker that TCU had in the national championship game. They said Raylan Wilson was all over the place and he was already giving us trouble. And the dude should have been in high school. He barely got to Athens and he was already, causing havoc plays, right? And making things really tough. He's a special player. CJ Allen is a thumper as well. I have high expectations for him, but as far as going out and getting 5-star Nakobe Dean, getting Channing Tindall, the best player out of South Carolina, Smile Munden, going up and getting Jamon Dumas-Johnson, who he liked better than everyone else, and getting Troy Bowles along with C.J. Allen and Raylan Wilson. The guy just does not miss. He's got DeMarcus Riddick, 4-star, probably the best linebacker in Alabama on the commit list right now, in a dead heat with Clemson for Sammy Brown. A lot of people still think Clemson might be the team to beat, but I'm not putting anything past Glenn Schumann. I like Georgia to get Sammy Brown because Glenn Schumann gets his guy. So he's the top recruiter on the staff, in my opinion. Let's just stay on defense, right? Fran Brown has done an excellent job since getting to Georgia. Was able to land A.J. Harris, a high 4-star, low 5-star guy, depending on the outlet that you look at. I don't think Georgia was going to get him with Jamal Adai, who is now at Miami. But he loaded up in the secondary last year, and he's doing an excellent job in this 24 class. Multiple players in the secondary already committed, including the #1 cornerback prospect in the country, and Ellis Robinson. Peyton Woodyard's on board. He's doing a great job with KJ Bolden. Chris Peel, who they signed in last year's class, could be the more underrated player, kind of the diamond in the rough type that has a really good career. He is long, athletic, can run. He's doing an excellent job making sure Georgia's secondary is going to stay elite. Fran Brown's done an excellent job. Trey Scott, we know he can develop, right, and get guys into the league for sure. His resume speaks for itself, but he's going out there and he's landing big-time recruits too. So between Trayvon Walker and those guys in that 2019 class, getting Jalen Carter, signing Jordan Hall this past year out of Jacksonville. Listen, you Georgia fans need to buy as much stock as you can on Jordan Hall. He flew up the rankings towards the end of the year for good reason. I spoke with his coach on the phone for about 30 minutes a week before he committed to Georgia because I wanted to know all about this kid. I'm all bought in. I think this guy could be a top 10, top 15 pick in the NFL after 3 years. He's going to be a very, very good player. Probably the best. He's a Jalen Carter type, but getting Jamal Jarrett as well. He's got some work to do in this 24 class, but if he can. A lot of this is NIL, especially in this 24 class, especially on the offensive and defensive line. I'm going to talk about the offensive line in a minute, but these guys want to make money in college, and a lot of it isn't about development, and it's not about winning championships and possibly, maybe being a first-round pick. They want money now. So if Georgia can get Justin Scott away from Miami, that says a lot. If he can land Edric Houston, out of Buford, borderline 5-star guy, that would say a lot. But he might have to, load up with 4 stars, which is okay, and then go after some elite defensive linemen in the 25 class as well, which he can do. But Georgia's defensive line is going to be arguably the best in college football for the foreseeable future because Trey Scott can not only develop these guys, but he's an excellent recruiter, and he loves recruiting. It's not easy to work for Kirby Smart because you have to recruit your butt off, and they're long hours, long days. And he's been around, doing this for a while in Athens, and he's doing an excellent job. So, Coach Dribe, outside linebackers coach, are you kidding me? Signing Damon Wilson, Sam Mpemba, Gabe Harris. You could not have asked for a better job as far as bringing in elite outside linebackers, pass rushers in last year's class. And he's in a good spot for a few other guys. For that information, make sure you go to Dawg Post, because I'm going to write a story on where Georgia sits with some of the best pass rushers targets in the 24 class. That's going to be on Dawg Post this week. But he's in a good spot to bring in more elite pass rushers. That guy came in and hit the ground running. He is turning into a very, very good recruiter as well. Now, Will Muschamp is doing his thing, helps out with a lot of guys all over the place. Janelle Aguero, big-time safety, who I think is going to have a big Georgia career. Will Muschamp was a big part of that. Those linebackers as well. So he kind of floats around, helps everyone out a little bit from what I've gathered, but he knows what he's doing. He's been around the block, a veteran coach that knows how to recruit in the SEC, in the state of Georgia. So he's excellent too. Let's talk about the offense real quick. Todd Hartley, if Glenn Schumann's the best assistant coach on the recruiting trail at Georgia, Todd Hartley's number 2. The guy does not miss. I know Landon Thomas flipped from Georgia to Florida State, but he always kind of wanted to go to Florida State. So it's not like he grew up a giant Georgia fan, as far as I know, and then spurned Todd Hartley and the Dogs to play for Florida State. But South Georgia kid, Florida State is doing a really good job getting those South Georgia kids down to Tallahassee. But he went out and got Jaden Riddell, and according to On3, that's the number 1 tight end in America out of Missouri. Pass catcher, had over 1,000 yards, I believe 12 touchdowns. Big deal. But you go back, he got his 2 targets, Pierce Sperling and Lawson Lucky, in that 23 class. Oscar Delp, his only target in 22. He locked in on Oscar, won him and his family over very early in the process. Got him. Brock Bowers, 2021. Darnell Washington, 2020. Todd Hartley does his job as well as anyone out there, especially on the recruiting trail. He's an ace. A lot of people kind of hate on Dell McGee, and I'm not sure it's really warranted. I know he didn't get Justice Haynes, UGA legacy, who was apparently tearing it up in Tuscaloosa. But he went out and got Roderick Robinson, who is a legend in San Diego. I mean, they might build a statue of him in San Diego, one of the best running backs to ever come out of that part of California. Big bowling ball, tackle breaker. So he did sign him, but he helped land Kendall Milton, Dacian Edwards. A lot of people didn't think Dacian Edwards was that good. He's turned out to be a really good player. I mean, that's all Del McGee. Branson Robinson is going to make a big impact this year. Another guy who, little mini Nick Chubb, built like a brick wall. That's what Del McGee told us last year. He signed a lot of guys who break tackles and keeps the chains moving and can get you 2 yards on a 3rd and goal, 4th and goal from the 1. He's got guys back there who can, make those type of runs and fall forward and keep the chains moving and score touchdowns. So I know guys want more 5 stars at running back, but he's doing just fine. He's bringing in plenty of speed. Dwight Phillips Jr., the fastest player in the country. So he's got a lot of big, kind of heavy bowling ball, tackle breaking types on the roster right now, but he's bringing in some speed in this class. I think Del McGee is doing just fine, and I'm not sure why Georgia fans are not super happy with him. Losing out on Justice Hayes was not great. I mean, that was his guy, didn't get him, but Georgia's not going to have problems at running back, probably ever. And there's multiple guys back there, and these running backs, a lot of them don't want to share the load as much, and they are all about NIL too and being the guy. That's just not going to happen at Georgia because they rotate so many. Kenny McIntosh turned out to be a better running back than I think a lot of people thought. That's Del McGee as well. Brian McClendon, he's come in and done an excellent job. Love Tyler Williams, big physical pass catcher with plenty of size, speed, great after the catch. That he signed last year. Anthony Evans, already one of the fastest players on the roster. He's going to bring a vertical element, a guy who can take a screen the distance as well. And if he gets Ryan Wingo and maybe Jeremiah Smith, we're going to be talking about Brian McClendon being one of the best recruiters on this staff. But Kirby brought him in, I guess 2 Januaries ago now, because he can recruit and he knows the state of Georgia and he can go across the country and get guys as well. So this could be his best class if they land a couple 5 stars in addition to Nikar and Sokovie White. So could be a very big class for Brian McClendon. Stacey Searles has got a little work to do, but as I've said before, and I've said on Dawg Post multiple times, these guys just aren't out there, and I've been told that all of his top targets in this 24 class are all NIL. That is the most important thing to a lot of his offensive line targets, and it's kind of frustrating from his point. His top guy, I can't say too many details here, but I was told that one of his top targets from 23 ended up, getting a very, very big NIL deal with another program that's not on Georgia's level. And Georgia's not going to play that type of game. They're going to help, and they have a lot of NIL opportunities. You go to Georgia and you can be very successful there, but they're not going to throw out these numbers to some of these kids and basically put them on a payroll. But that's for another time. But he could really clean up in 2025. This is as good of an offensive line class maybe as I've seen covering Georgia recruiting. David Sanders might be the best player in the country in the 25 class. Juan Gaston Jr., who I'm higher on than anyone in the industry, think he's a borderline 5-star. Josh Petty out of Roswell, Fellowship Christian. He's a guy that they like. Mason Short committed to Alabama right now, but I think Georgia's still in the mix with him. A lot of offensive linemen in 25. So if he continues to bring in, and just load up with 3 and 4 stars right now in this class, it's perfectly fine. But I expect him to do big things and bring in some elite targets, prospects, whatever you want to call them, in 2025. So the jury's still out on Stacey Searles. He's another guy that I think a lot of Georgia fans kind of, crap on here and there. He's not Sam Pittman. He's not Matt Luke, but I think he is doing a better job than people realize. Am I missing someone? I mean, Mike Bobo knows how to recruit as well. Just closed, with Dylan Raiola, kept Ryan Puglisi on board. He's got his eye on some top 2025 quarterbacks as well. Julian Lewis, an elite quarterback in the 26 class out of Carrollton. We'll see if he ends up reclassifying, but Mike Bobo is an excellent recruiter as well. I think off the top of my head, I think I got everyone, but it's Glenn Schumann, it's Todd Hartley, then maybe Fran Brown, Trey Scott, Brian McClendon, Del McGee, so on and so on. Coach Dribe is fantastic, but this staff is full of ace recruiters, and I think they are going to have a massive, massive month of June with these official visitors coming in. I still expect Georgia to land the #1 recruiting class in the country and one of the best of all time. I've said that for a while, and it's because this staff is loaded with ace recruiters. So, just off-season video I want to talk about. What do you think? Drop a comment in the section below. Pick up Double Dogs. Should be behind me right there. Sign up to the newsletter. Should be another big month, not only on Dawg Post, but for Georgia recruiting as well. Always appreciate y'all watching these videos, and I'll see you on the next one.